Tyler, we have so many people that are struggling today with their money. Can you please give the listeners at least one action step that they can take to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle?
Absolutely. I think majority of people don't do this one action step. It's so simple, but I just find that so many people will skip it. And it's really just starting to pay yourself first. I can't imagine working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And as soon as I get my paycheck, I disperse it out to everybody else, but me and my family first. So one of the simple things I'd say people start doing, start paying themselves first. Like I said, you have to be the number one bill collector for yourself is paying yourself.
That is so good because I am a bookworm. I love to read books, and that's one of the main things they say that we need to do as a people
hmm
is to save for ourselves first.
Absolutely.
Put something aside so that you can break the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Because if you don't put something aside, even when you get into retirement, you know what? You're going to be broke and you're going to be saying, welcome to Walmart, if they even have welcome to Walmart at that time.
This is true, and based on what you're just saying too, it's sad but true because I grocery shop dang near every single day. I go to the store, get what I need, buy it that day, go home, cook it that day. Now, majority of people see greeting people are usually older, and I don't think they want to be there. I think they have to be there because
Right.
they probably had a retirement account that was insufficient for them, so they had to go ahead and get a part-time job or maybe in a full-time job in their late 60s or 70s. Some of these people are even 80 years old, greeting me and telling me,
Yes.
do I need help with my bags? You know what I mean? So definitely pay yourself first so we don't end up like that. I agree 1,000%.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Listeners, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I am Teresa Bartelle with Bartelle's Money Talk. Welcome, welcome. And if you want to learn about your money, if you want to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, stay with us. We're only going to be here for a brief time, but we're going to give you some life-changing information. And so, Mr. Tyler, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised in the east side of San Jose. For those of you that don't know that's in San Jose, California, which is basically the hood, to be honest with you. And a lot of my friends growing
Mhm.
up are now they're no longer living in prison or stranded on drugs. So kind of thank God I got away from them. And why I say it's such a bad area, just Northern California in general, a lot of parts. My little brother was shot 5 times and lived, thank God. A close friend of
Wow.
mine that I grew up with, he was shot 12 times just 2.5 years ago. He lived, but he's in prison now for the rest of his life. So when I say sports
Mm.
saved my life, it genuinely did just because I was able to get out of that environment. Ended up getting a football scholarship at University of St. Mary's in Kansas. 2010, I was in, it was called the Small School NFL Combine, so almost professional athlete. Didn't get drafted, unfortunately. I had to figure out what to do next. Got my degree in psychology. Originally, I wanted to be a marriage counselor, and then I got married to my wife and decided I no longer wanted to be a marriage counselor. So that's kind of that happened there. Still married, have 4 children, have an 18-year-old son, have a
Wow.
14-year-old daughter, 15-year-old daughter, 14-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter. So boy, girl is how they were born. And I was just always trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And for majority of my life, we struggled with money. My parents didn't have much of it.
Mhm.
I didn't really have any of it growing up either. So I didn't really understand too much about money. But I did know I wanted to help marriages. And I found out the number one reason people were splitting up was because of finance. So I said, okay, it would make sense to get into that industry, but I didn't know much about it. And I'm a man of faith. That's just who I am. And the Lord just kind of spoke to me one night and said, apply for JP Morgan. So apply for JP Morgan. It's like, okay, so,
Ooh.
yeah. So, I just wanted to be obedient. So I started applying for JP Morgan. I was doing their application process, and part of the application process was like a strenuous math test. And I got so frustrated with this dang math test, I just stopped in the middle of it and just told my wife, let's go to the movies. Went to the movies, came back probably 11:30 at night, and the Lord just like finished that application. So I did. So I finished the application, finished the math test until about 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. So it started about 11:30, finished at about 1:30 in the morning. So it took about 2 hours to complete this math test. And I got a call
Mm.
about 2 days later from a lady named Jeannie Cox, that was the recruiter for JP Morgan. She said, hey, Tyler, how you doing? This is Jeannie. Want to go ahead and invite you in for an interview. You did so well on the math test. I said, wait, what? Did I really? I was shocked because I didn't think I did well. And she's like, yeah, you did extraordinary. I said, okay, awesome. So from there, I ended up going out to Mountain View, California for an interview. The person I interviewed with, he loved me. He liked what I had going on. He's like, could you come back in about an hour to meet with our GM? I said, awesome. I know, no problem. Came back an hour later, meet with their GM. And you think it went well, Miss Teresa, but it didn't. The guy couldn't stand me. The GM didn't like me at all. Like, yeah, he couldn't
Wow.
stand me. So he kept talking about how I wasn't ambitious because for over a year and a half, I didn't have a job because I was training for the NFL. I said, wait, what? You must not understand how sports are in America because football is a big
Clearly.
deal, especially, I live in Texas now, but before I lived in California, it was still a big deal. So he just couldn't get over that fact.
Mhm.
So I walked out of that interview without a job still and ended up going home. And I was just like, dang, what's next? And I got a call a couple days later from Jeannie again. And Jeannie said, Tyler, how'd it go? I said, I probably didn't get that, Jeannie, honestly. And she said, you know what? I'm going to set you up with another interview outside this guy's jurisdiction where you're going to go ahead and go to a hiring event that we're having in Fremont, California. I said, all right, awesome. So I went to this next interview and I sat down with a gentleman. His name was Eric Powell. I remember it like it was yesterday. I sat down in a room with him and another gentleman. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but him and Eric and another gentleman. And all he did is talk to me about football for the next hour and a half. Didn't mention anything about finances. Didn't talk to me about it. Didn't talk to me about my knowledge on anything like that. He was just so impressed about the mindset, discipline, the teamwork, the leadership it took to get to where I was at playing college football. And that's what he was excited about. He ended up, saying, all right, awesome. You have an amazing day. And I left out of there a little bit more optimistic for sure. And a couple days later, I got a call from a lady named Vicky who actually had a branch out in Cupertino. And she asked me to come in and she kind of hired me on the spot. And that's how I kind of got my footsteps into the financial industry, was that right there.
Well, that was a good story. So how long did you stay at JP Morgan?
I was there about a year and a half, 2 years. I was there about a year and a half to 2 years. I was at JP Morgan. And part of the reasons why I had ended up leaving, number one, is I didn't like the clientele I could only serve, meaning that if a person didn't have over 100,000 liquid cash, we couldn't sit down and have a conversation. So that just meant a lot of people I can help. I didn't like that. Secondly, I'd help somebody do about $500,000 rollover of an old 401k/IRA. And JP Morgan paid me about $2,000. So at that point in time, I made $2,000 in 1 hour at the age of 22. And I was fired up, Teresa. Like I was fired up about this $2,000, right?
I bet I would have been too.
And then that fired up went to me being upset when I went home and did my research and found out that $2,000 would have been $30,000 if I would have had my own company. I said, wait, what? Y'all shorted me $28,000? Like I mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, I'm from the hood. So I wanted to cut somebody, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I didn't though, thank God, but I did decide I was going to go ahead and figure out a way to leave. And that was kind of the process of me starting to figure out a way to leave and eventually me leading to a mentor that mentored and trained me and coached me in what I could do to actually open up my own firm. And that's kind of how I ended up leaving and getting my own business.
So how long have you had your own firm? Listen here, y'all.
Yeah, 13 years.
He got his own firm.
13 years.
And doing good, helping people with money.
Yes.
Tyler, my hat go off to you because I'm sure that was not an easy world for you to break into. So thank you for your service.
Absolutely. It definitely was not. I mean, there's some rough times, some rough nights, some crying out to God. Am I supposed to do this? What you want me to do? Leave my job? I got 3 kids at the time with a 4th on the way. Like it was hectic, but thank God he prevailed. Yeah, he prevailed for sure.
It worked out.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to know, so I'm sure there's probably someone else listening that wants to know, what gave you your heart to want to help people with their money?
Well, the main reason was because like I said, I went to school for psychology. So originally I wanted to be a marriage counselor, and I didn't see myself going to school to get a master's. And I was just like, that wasn't just like, and to be completely honest with you, only reason why I went to college is because I played football.
Wow.
So I never like envisioned really getting a college degree, and I ended up getting the degree because I was just there for so long. I was like, I might as well get the degree. I'm still here. Because I thought about, and my mom would hate this, but I thought about dropping out after my football season because I was like, okay, my focus now is the NFL. Thank God I didn't. And I decided to stick around. So I didn't see myself getting a master's. So that was the main thing, because I figured in psychology, in order to really make any money, you have to have a master's or a doctorate. And I didn't like school enough to continue to stay with it. So I was like, okay, how can I still impact marriages? And when I found out the number one reason for divorce was finances, I said, that makes sense for me to get into, but I didn't know nothing about money, and I dang sure didn't come from it either. Because I always thought most people, when you had to work in finance, you had to, go to a very prestigious school and you had to major in and things like that. And come to find out, you just got to get some licenses and some training. You can actually do some, pretty good things for people.
So you are making a huge difference in the world, like I said. And so you also have a podcast named Money Masters. Can you tell us a little bit about that podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the purpose of that podcast?
So the purpose started with I want to get financial education to the forefront of people's minds. My vision is to educate 20 million people on financial literacy, just because I understand that most people go to school, go to college, get a job, and learn absolutely nothing about finances, right? And a lot of times I find out most people learn about finances after their first bankruptcy or after their first divorce. And that's probably not the best time to find out about it, right? It's too late, right? So I just wanted to make sure that people are starting to understand money better. My first I don't know, 20 episodes or so are just me teaching different principles about money, different products and services that people can have, teaching, especially our community, about wills and
Oh,
trusts and
yes.
getting things out of your own name and just talking about that stuff. So that's part of it. And then I also interview a lot of different business owners because I'm huge on entrepreneurship. Our country was built on the backs of entrepreneurs. It wasn't really until after the Industrial Revolution that people really started going to school and getting a job right afterwards, because that's just kind of how it was. But majority of our country is built off of entrepreneurs. So I interview a lot of entrepreneurs, just trying to inspire people to go ahead and possibly want to work for themselves and hear their stories and their thoughts and how they became successful, how they've overcome things. Because anytime I watch a movie, I've never seen a movie just start with someone doing great and end with someone doing great and nothing happened in between.
Yeah.
So
That's right. It's something always happening in between.
exactly. So it's the exact same way with people in real life. You were born, you have to overcome some type of adversity, and when you overcome adversity, that's when everything great starts happening for you. So majority of the time I'm interviewing business owners, learning about them, the adversities they've overcome, and wanting to really inspire people.
Okay, so Tyler, you said something that made my head go bing. So this is putting you on the spot, but because you already talk about it, I'm sure you know the answer. And listeners, if you've been watching us for a while, I'm sure you figured out I'm pretty authentic and I can pop some questions. So you mentioned, like, you talk about wills and trust and the importance of people getting things out of their name.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you touch on that, please?
For sure. So I believe this, that you should own nothing, control everything. Okay. And that's
Say that again.
own nothing, control everything. And that's what
Okay.
wealthy people do. What they have in place, they typically have some type of entity, which is usually going to be either a corporation, a trust that owns everything, but they control those things, meaning that nothing's in their personal name. So like your bank accounts, your house, your business, obviously your business is not going to be in your name, your bank accounts, your cars, your house, any type of entity that you have or asset that you have, it shouldn't be in your name. Now, the way that you can go about that is by having a trust. Now, there's types of trust. Obviously, you have revocable trust or irrevocable trust. A revocable trust just can be one that you can make a lot more changes to. An irrevocable trust, once it's set up in place. So a lot of times starting out, majority of people listening, this is probably like 99% of the population, you just need a revocable trust, meaning you can make changes to it when you need to. Okay. So why I say own nothing, control everything, because if anyone ever tries to come after you and your assets, if you personally do not own it, they can't get anything from you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
It does.
So your bank accounts or, your brokerage accounts, anything that you have assets on, you should have it within some type of trust. Now that trust can even own your businesses as well. A lot of people don't even know that. So your trust can own your LLCs, your corporate, it can own all that stuff. So I'd say that's one thing that people should do. Then the will, what a will is, it's just going to be instructions for when you pass away of what's supposed to happen with your assets. So you should have both a will and a trust. And then on top of that, if you want to get a little bit deeper with it, when you do own your corporations, let's say it's an LLC, you open it up in states in which you can have what's called anonymity. And anonymity just gives you another layer of protection, which people look up your corporation or your business and they don't know who owns it. Like if you look up any of my LLCs, you don't know that I own it. You just see the names of the LLCs. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does. So do you have an attorney that someone helps you do this, or do you do this yourself?
So most people, you will need an attorney. Absolutely. You'll need an attorney to set up the trust and the wills and stuff like that. Absolutely. You're going to need an attorney. Obviously, I have connections within the industry that I work with in order to go ahead and set these things up too. So yes, you will need an attorney to set these things up. Or you will go, there's so many ways to do it. There's going to be inside of it somewhere, there's an attorney that sets it up. Now, if you're going to go straight to an attorney, they might overcharge you. There's, some people get way overcharged for wills and trusts and things like that. There's always ways that you can find it for a better pricing. Not everyone needs things that are super detailed and structured, but you just want to get things out of your name in general.
Okay. And so to get things out of your name, is the main reason why you recommend doing this is in the event someone tries to sue you, or is it maybe for government assistance later? What's your purpose behind it?
It can be both. I just believe in protection. I'm a man. My two things is protect and provide, and protection comes first. Right. Okay.
That's right. It does.
Absolutely. So I'm just thinking of ways to make sure a person is protected, period. Now that can, because once you start coming into money, understand people are now trying to take it from you. And what my job to do as a finance professional is to make sure that you don't only make money and have it, but I want to make sure that you keep it. A lot of people have made money in their life. A lot of people. The making money isn't the hard part. It's the keeping it part that most people struggle with.
Wow. Okay, so that's good information. We've been doing this for a little over 2 years, and I don't think we've ever had anyone to discuss the safety that comes with a living trust.
Yes.
Or irrevocable trust or revocable trust, whichever one. And so leaning in on that many times, and I'll just speak about, my own family. Sometimes some of my friends or people that I've met along the way in our culture, they believe if they get a will, they are just summoning themselves to die. But I just stress to everyone how important it is to have a will so that your family knows what you want done. So can you, because you're in this, you're doing it every day, can you please stress how important it is to at least have a will?
It's extremely important. And I strongly suggest having both, not just one of the two, have both. A will is just a set of instructions for when you pass away. Now, I'm assuming, a lot of our culture, they're thinking, if I put a will, all of a sudden I'm like, no, that's not how, you're not going to go ahead and die just because you got a will. That's not how it works. Lord willing. Lord willing, because if you decide to take you, he going to take you. You can't come, your family can't come blame Tyler and say, hey, he said get a will, now you gone. Like, nah, it is what it is. It is what it is, player. Anyways, but the importance of a will is going to be this. Let's say if a person has kids, it's a couple, they have, let's say, 3 kids. And unfortunately, mom and dad pass away while the kids are still young. Now your kids can end up going into foster care, or they can end up going with a relative that you didn't want them to go to because you didn't have a will. So will is just a set of instructions saying, hey, in the event that something happens to me, I want my kids to go ahead and live with, my mom. All 3 of my kids are going to go to my mom. They're going to still be able to go to this school. You're just giving the instructions on what it's supposed to do. Now, when you don't have that, you're just liable for the state to go ahead and take over and suggest what happens to your children. And I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want anyone having control over what happens with my children's lives if it's not me and my wife.
Right. You got that right. And my husband and I, when we were raising our girls, we were the same way, because you don't know the day, the hour, the minute when the Lord gonna come back for you if that's who you're serving.
Absolutely.
So the best thing to do is have things in place for your children. We are still responsible for them if they're minors, even after we're gone. So that's why I completely believe in making sure that you leave something in place for your children so they will be in a safe environment.
Absolutely.
To the best of your abilities.
Absolutely agree. 1,000%.
And so listeners, I promised my friend that I was not going to keep him here all night, but he has a framework called the 5 F's that I want him to touch on briefly, because I think it's very important that we all hear about his 5 F's. So Tyler, the floor is yours. Tell us about these 5 F's.
Absolutely. So I believe and live my life by what are called the 5 F's. And the 5 F's stands for faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. And I truly believe we want all those aspects in our life to be what I call whole. Okay. And it talks about this in Proverbs 10:22. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Now, that word rich isn't just talking about money. He's talking about wholeness in all areas of your life. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And that's how I want my life to be. Nothing missing, nothing broken. So I truly believe every single day of my life, I'm living out the 5 F's, meaning that I spend time with the Lord every day. I'm going to go ahead and be with my family every day. I'm going to go ahead and work on my fitness every day. I'm going to work on my finances every day. And I can always put in some fun somewhere. What I find out as we get older, we might start thinking like, okay, how do I balance everything? If you want balance, go join yoga. All right. All right. There's going to be seasons in your life when things are unbalanced, which is okay. But that doesn't mean you can't still work towards getting better at them. All right. I truly believe this. If you focus on getting 1% better every single day, in 100 days, you'll be 100% better. The problem is a lot of us aren't disciplined enough to go ahead and do that. My word of the year is discipline. I just want to be disciplined, because I find out people who are disciplined end up having freedom, which is actually the 6 F, because I believe if you have all those 5 F's working for you, you eventually end up having freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom of time, freedom from money, freedom to go ahead and do what you want, spend time with your family, and have a prosperous life. So that's the 5 F's that I talk about and have a coaching program on and help people in those areas.
Well, I love it. Well, I tell you what, you will not leave this platform until we talk about debt.
Okay.
Let's talk about debt a little bit.
Let's talk
about
it.
How do you feel about debt?
So there's 2 types of debt. There's debt that harms people, and there's debt that can help you. Now, what do I mean by that? There has been a lot of people who mainly see debt as a way to go ahead and just survive, meaning like they're using debt to go ahead and pay towards things that they really can't afford, or they're using debt to go ahead and make sure they're just getting by. So they're holding a balance when it comes to a debt, right? So they're constantly in debt. And then there's debt in which a person can utilize it to go ahead and get wealthy. And that's called OPM, other people's money. So that means you're using debt to go ahead and produce income, IPAs, income producing assets. Okay. So how you use the debt is a big difference. Now, if I'm a person that's just using debt as a consumer, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of buying things that I don't need to impress people that don't even like me. Like I don't.
Thank you. That's the truth. People need to realize that.
Yes.
Why are you going to lose sleep getting in debt to please someone who don't even care and they don't even like you?
Exactly. So I'm not a fan of that type of debt at all. You need to get out of that as soon as you possibly can. Figure out how to do that. Set up a plan. I believe in the 70-10-20 rule. 30% of your income, go ahead. That's going to be towards your living expenses. 10% go ahead and pay that towards your future. That can be towards your investments, and then 20% can go towards your paying off your debt. So I believe a person could go ahead and start utilizing that strategy if they don't have one already to get out of debt. And I also believe in what's called the debt snowball effect, just being able to pay off debt that way. If you don't know what that is, ladies and gentlemen, you just go ahead and Google it and figure out exactly what that is. And all that is basically find out which of your debts are the most and the least, and you start paying them off based upon the least to the highest and kind of going from there. So I'm just knocking out your debt. But I just truly believe in that. So there's ways to definitely get out of it. So I'm not a fan of consumer debt. Now, I talked about that. Now, if we talk about getting wealthy with it, I'm a fan of it. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, give me an example of getting wealthy with it.
Absolutely. Give me an example of getting wealthy with it. So let's say once you get your credit in order or get it aligned, you can go ahead and start requesting lines of credit. You can get lines of credit from, let's just say you are over a 740 credit score or 740, 747. You start requesting $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, up to probably about $500,000 worth of credit that you go ahead and utilize. Now, once you start getting that credit, you got to go ahead and start investing into something that's going to go ahead and reproduce you money. Okay, what can that be? That might be Airbnbs. That could be Airbnb arbitrage. I've seen and know of people who went ahead and got this line of credit. They went ahead and invested into an IPA, let's just say like an Airbnb. And when they're doing that, they're going to put around in areas which they know it's going to be profitable. How will you know if an Airbnb is going to be profitable? You got to put it around either hills. You got to put it around large hospitals, large hotels that have convention centers, because there's going to be, people coming in and out for conferences. The reason I said hotels is because people are going to, not hotels, but hospitals, because large hospitals, people are going to be coming in to visit their family if they're sick. I said hills because people love to hike. And the last H is H2O, water. Okay. So the 4 H's. So what people travel to water, people travel to hills, people travel to large hotels for conventions, and people travel to hospitals. So now your Airbnb could potentially be profitable. And then there are websites like AirDNA, which you can go ahead and actually put the actual address of the property and determine if it's going to be profitable or not. So now I have this asset I can go ahead and get into. I don't even have to necessarily own it. I can rent it out, make sure whenever I'm renting it out that the price that I'm offering per night will take care of the rent plus pay me more. Okay. Now I'm using debt to go ahead and make myself some income. And then there's other ways. A lot of overlooked type of businesses. A lot of times there's car washes out there that you can go ahead and buy. There's laundromats you can go ahead and buy. Vending machines still make money. You just got to put them in the right areas. And now people are looking for healthy snacks, not junk food anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to just utilize that money to go ahead and get yourself IPAs. Okay. One thing I would probably say a person could even do too, go ahead and get that type of line of credit. And the big thing right now is going to go ahead and be AI companies. Go invest yourself into an AI company. Start making some money.
Wow, you sure gave us some good ideas. I like the H's because, of course, I never heard of the H's. Y'all, I hope you heard the H's. And if you're considering going into debt to make money and you're thinking about an Airbnb, pause it, go back, listen to what he said about these 4 H's. And so based on what we said, I know that you're a man of God. This question, when it comes to paying ourselves first, do you think we should tithe first and then pay ourselves?
1,000%. I agree. Absolutely. I'm a tither.
Okay.
That's helped me. I've been tithing since I was 13 years old. I'm 38 now. And I got a revelation on it when I was 13. And my mom said, keep this up for the rest of your life. You're going to be great at it. You're going to be doing great things with money. And the only reason I got a revelation is because my mom was getting ready to go somewhere and she had the TV on. I'll never forget it. She was listening to Joyce Myers on TV. And as she was listening to Joyce Myers, I heard Joyce Myers talking about tithing. She said, do you want to have 100% cursed or 90% blessed? I said, well, that makes sense to me. At 13, I had $10. I said, Mama, can I get my dollar at church on Sunday to go ahead and tithe? She said, what? You understood that? I said, it made perfect sense. Why would I not? And for me, it's done wonders in my life. I know a lot of people that, and for me, it's I'm fully submitted to the Lord. I don't want to put anything over him. Money can come and go, but my relationship with God is going to last eternity. So I don't want to go ahead and put anything above him, and I can't serve God and mammon at the same time. So for me, it's not a big deal, but for a lot of people, they hold so tight onto that money. That's such a big deal. And I talk about that. I truly believe givers gain. Givers truly gain. So I would hope that a person listening to this would start being generous when it comes to their money, because the more that you're willing to give away, God can entrust you with much, much more as well.
Yes, he can. And that's what the word says. If you want to be rule over much, you got to be faithful of a little bit first. So open your hands. If you keep your hands tied, clutched tight, you're not a giver. You ain't making room for God to give you nothing.
Absolutely.
Even humans may not give you nothing because you're such a hoarder. You're so stingy. God can use people to be a blessing to you.
Absolutely. Yes, he can.
So I hope you listeners are listening and taking notes. And Tyler, before I let you go, because you've been in the business for so long, you have your own firm, can you leave the listeners with one nugget or two nuggets of something that they can do practical that can change the trajectory of their financial situation?
Now, it's practical, but you're going to be like, oh, well, how does that work? So I tell you this, do it now. The best time to get your finances in order is do it now.
I like that.
Absolutely. So I had heard this several years ago. I was at a convention. A person was talking about, he said, what changed my life is just doing it now, doing it now, doing it now. And I find out there is so many people that procrastinate. All right. The biggest nation in the world is procrastination. Okay. Some people can procrastinate. They always think that they can do it later. They always push it back. And I've never heard of anything really being profitable or working out better for a person when they procrastinate. Okay. So I just say, do it now. Whatever action step it could be. That might be you starting to figure out how to get yourself out of debt. That might be you starting to save towards your future. That might be starting to pay yourself first. Just do it now. And then we can set up a plan to start getting everything else in order. But you got to start somewhere. That's what I'd say a person do. Just start somewhere now. Whether it's starting to get out of debt, whether it's starting to go ahead and make sure you start saving for your future. You just got to take an action step and do something. Don't just sit around listening to these podcasts, getting all this information, never doing nothing, because, not basically what you're doing is gaining knowledge, not implementing it. And that's not powerful at all. They say knowledge is power. Like, no. I don't think knowledge is power. I think the implementation of knowledge is power.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true.
So I'd say that.
Well, that was powerful.
Thank you.
I like that nugget. We're not going to be a part of the pro nation. The procrastination nation. Okay. So Tyler, at this time, I would like for you to tell the listeners, if they want to connect with you, where's the best place and how is the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, you can visit my website, moneymasternation.com. Through there, you can actually get access to our complimentary course that we have on there about finance. You have access to that. And then if you want to connect with me, hit me in the DMs. You can go ahead and do so. You can do so on Instagram at moneymaster408. You can go ahead and do so there.
Well, Tyler, from Teresa, who is myself, and Bartelle's Money Talk, thank you so much for this engaging content, this conversation. It has been a blessing, and thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to have you as a guest again in the future.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.